And that means we're live, by the way.
Oh, when you say we're going live, that means we are live? Is that what you're
Well,
saying?
no, when I said that means we are live, that was my way of saying that it finally connected and we are now live. So,
Oh.
heads up, yo. Our this is gonna be an interesting show because my sinuses are all over the place. But I say let's do it. Let me know when you're done doing what you do, sharing and telling everybody on that their Facebook, that book of faces.
That little doohickey that I got.
That's right.
Damn it, Trinity, I got a music box. It does video too.
You mean to tell me that's all in your hand?
But you know what? I promise I'm not gonna do that anymore like that. Because
What?
it's offensive.
Everything's offensive to somebody,
No,
man.
but I mean that group of people get attacked by everybody and nobody defends them. So I'm defending them.
Sure.
I'm not gonna imitate y'all no more. You guys can say whatever the hell you want to, because I got a little accent too. So
Sure. Are you ready?
people always trying to figure out my accent. And then I say I'm from Texas, and they go, "Oh, that's why." I'm like, you didn't know that. You can't tell.
Texas only steers.
Yeah, you don't know. So you can't say that either anymore, Trinity. Leave me alone.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Let's run this intro.
Yeah.
Shut up and sit down.
Boom.
Man, that's a loud gun.
You know what I just realized? Like, I think the last 2 times, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to actually switch off of the intro. Once it's done playing, it automatically switches back to this. I
Oh,
think maybe I should have known that, but I don't know. From day one, I've always just clicked it off and gone to. So now you know. You heard it here, folks. First, I don't whatever. You heard it here, kids.
you've earned Producer of the Year award.
Exactly. And we're only in February, so what does that mean? Anyway,
At least
what's up?
nobody's got a chance. Just give it up now. Just
Yeah.
you ain't got a chance.
So what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in. This is, of course, Dope and Dharma.
Yeah.
This is the Dharma Time Edition here on not Tuesday. It's Thursday, I think.
Oh, that's right. It's not Tuesday.
It's not Tuesday. And he is, of course, the Dope Doctor, one and only, and I am the Dharma Guy. Welcome. We did not do a show on Tuesday because
No.
he's rich and famous, so he's got to go do his thing. He didn't
I
have
could have
time
done
for
it.
the rest of
I could have done it. I could have
Okay.
done it. I was in my hotel room during this time. I could have done it. I was just busy, but I
Sure.
could have done it.
So
I was in Savannah, Georgia. Which,
I
let
heard
me
that's a
tell you
nice
something,
place.
dude. Oh wait, you haven't been to Savannah, Georgia?
I have not. No.
You guys would actually really like Savannah, Georgia. It's a very cool little town. I like
And
Savannah,
why would we
Georgia.
like it? What's great about it?
Well, I mean, it's just you don't like walking, but
No, I do not.
it's a good little riverfront to walk up and down, check out the
Right.
different shops and the restaurants and all that stuff. Dana likes it because you can walk around anywhere in town with a drink in your hand, anywhere, like for miles.
Well, then there you go. I'm sold.
So that's why Dana likes it. But I like the food there and I like the ambiance. It's like a if you mix Myrtle Beach with New Orleans, you get Savannah, Georgia.
Interesting. Okay.
Kind of what it's like.
Right
All
on. I'll add that to the list
All right.
of places
And it's
I might
close,
go.
and it's really close. I mean, if you know what, 5
Yeah, it's
hours
like,
up, and you're there.
something like
Yeah,
Yeah,
5 or 6
on.
hours, you're up.
So today, man, I think we should talk about something that I'm going to assume we've all dealt with, either receiving or giving.
Okay.
Even though a lot of us would like to say that we don't, and that's defensiveness, right? We are at times critical of others, right? We might want to point out a situation where they could have done differently. Maybe they hurt our feelings. Maybe they messed something up. So we're great friends and relatives and spouses. So we try to come from a place of love and understanding. And we're like, hey, when you did this, it hurt my feelings. Or when you did this, it caused something else that was unintended. And I just want to let you know about it. And then oftentimes their response is not, oh man, thanks for bringing that to my attention. I'm sorry that that's how it came off. Maybe I'll do better next time. That's not how it comes. That's not the response for a lot of people. For a lot of
No.
people, it's well, you did this, and it's because you did this that I turned around and did this, and it's immediate defensiveness. It's immediate defending your stance and lashing out and being aggressive to the other person.
Right.
And so I think that we've all experienced that on both ends. I think we've all received it. I think we've all at one point or another have said something to somebody else that resulted in them being defensive towards us.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as we don't want to admit it, I'm pretty sure we've all received something that rubbed us the wrong way, that maybe we interpreted wrong, poorly, or unskillfully, if you will, and we didn't respond well. We responded with, defensiveness, right? I'm myself not included, because I've never once in my life been defensive ever.
No, I'm purely offense. I like.
Yeah.
That's why I offend in advance, Trinity.
Right. But I mean, all jokes aside, I think we're all guilty of it, right? We're all guilty of hearing something that maybe wasn't said, right? What you say and what other people hear are oftentimes vastly different.
Right.
Meaning, like, hey, I don't know, like, I really wish you wouldn't have done that. Which sounds like, hey, I really wish that your behavior or your action was different. But what the person might hear is, you're stupid, I hate you, you mess up everything. Right? Like, that's not what was said, but that's what they heard. And so then they're going to respond to what it is that they heard.
Or they hear,
example,
I'm perfect, I never treat you poorly, why are you treating me poorly?
Yeah, they hear that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Which is where the whole keeping score and tit for tat thing comes out. And it's like, because we've, like I said, we've all been in those situations, especially if you've ever had a spouse. You've most likely been involved in a discussion where maybe you bring up something, and somehow you bringing that issue up results in them telling you every issue that you've ever done in your entire life.
Yes.
When you were just trying to point out something, right? Which, hey, all those things might be valid as well, but it's all about timing in that particular instance.
Yes.
Meaning, if I'm bringing up something to you that's a concern of me, I'm not trying to invalidate any concerns that you might also have, but the moment I bring my concern up to you is probably not the right timing to then bring up all the concerns that you have with me. Like, it's timing in that situation. But anyways,
I have to upgrade Dana's phone to a terabyte of memory just to keep all the notes of when I am wrong, because she's got a really big scorecard. I myself have zero, because I can't remember them, and I forget to even write them down.
Yeah, so anyways, I just figured it'd be an interesting thing to talk about, because I think that I feel this is anecdotal, but I feel like it's happening more, right? Like, I feel that society as a whole, we've kind of gravitated to this idea of lack of accountability, right? Like, there's always a reason for everything. Context matters more than the outcome. Like, we've gotten to this weird situation where we all feel so vindicated in everything that we say and do, right? Like, if somebody says something and it doesn't align with what we think, we're so quick to just dismiss that. It doesn't matter that you feel that way, because the way I feel is more important. And I think that we see it a lot play out. Pick one of the top 10, issues that everybody's fighting about right now. I think it was, we said at the top of the show, we were mentioning something about like race, for instance. This is stereotypical at the moment. Obviously, each individual is different, but the premise that you hear a lot of from different sides, right? You have the black side saying, hey, we're being hurt. We've been wrong for so many years, whatever. And so by definition, that means everything you do is wrong. And you're the reason for it, and you're the fault for it. And then from the white perspective, it's like, hey, no, you guys did. It's just this weird going back and forth. And then, like you like to bring up, the Hispanic community likes to come in and say, well, wait a minute, we're a bigger minority than all of you.
Yes.
So my point is like, everything has context, and it's like nothing matters other than your perspective. And this idea of hearing other people's perspectives, this idea of realizing that maybe you went overboard, maybe you crossed a line and were a little overzealous. Like, all that stuff seems to be out the window lately, and it's weird. I see with my kids, there's no accountability from schools sometimes as far as if my kids. It's weird. Like there's either too much or not enough.
Right.
Or there's too much accountability on my kids in the sense of oftentimes like my son didn't, I don't know, bring something home or whatever it might be, and I tell the school, I'm like, guys, I never received anything. Like, well, we put it in his backpack. I was like, I hear you, but he's like 11. And so you're entrusting an 11-year-old who sometimes doesn't remember to wipe his butt after he goes to the bathroom to bring on a really, really important paperwork to me. Like, do you not feel that that's just a bit off? Like, do you not maybe like, hey, there's this invention lately that's like an instantaneous notification that I have right in my pocket. It's called email. And if you were to send a mass email out all to your people, and so you would ensure then that at least you've done your part to communicate to us. So in that sense, it's too much accountability. It's like you're expecting him to do things that he's not necessarily capable of at 11, or there's not enough in the sense that things like due dates don't really matter anymore. When I was in school, if it was due on Friday, that's it. You either turn it in on Friday or you get a 0. So now it's like, hey, it was due Friday 3 weeks ago, but you can still turn it in today and we'll give you credit, right? So there's like too much accountability or not enough. And the same goes for life, right? When we're out there, we watch. You and I have been guilty of conversing about some of these videos of brutality out there and being not in the mainstream, right? Like if I see an obvious crime happening, my choice is accountability. Like, hey, like the one that I could think of is the gentleman who was where he was not supposed to be. He was tased. He was hit. He said he was going to go get a knife, and then he was shot when he was grabbing the knife. What I saw was accountability. Like, hey, you're breaking the law. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're grabbing for a knife, and I'm going to hold you accountable. But then the other side is like no accountability by saying, hey, you don't ever shoot somebody no matter what. So, and then the list goes on and on and on and on, right? So everything from interpersonal relationships to just like things happening in your home to things outside of the home on the national stage, we've reached this weird pinnacle right now of like just bitter, defensive, just lashing out. Like, have you seen that same thing, or am I off base here?
No, I do actually see the same thing. I mean, what I see is that, because mommy and daddy are fighting,
Yeah.
which are two political parties that dominate this country, at least. The kids are left just either having to pick a side or unattended. And based on whichever side mommy and daddy, like if mommy feels like she can use us to her advantage, or if daddy feels like he can use us to his advantage, they excuse our behavior or make excuses for it. So it does leave us in a situation, most of us, most citizens, that just really just want to raise our kids, really just want to have a pleasant life, a happy life. Life is hard enough without having to worry about what side
that it
is speaking to me a certain way. And we're no longer looking at what the actions are, right? I think what you're saying is that we get defensive because we're trying to somehow explain our action. And sometimes we're just wrong. And I think we have to get to a point that it's okay to be wrong sometimes. It's a learning situation for me to be wrong. And where I've learned this the most, Trinity, and I did not expect to learn this the most from my kids, but when my kids call me on something and they do it in a really cool, unique way, and they use sometimes my language or my style or my way of being, I just get a little smirk and I just go, you're right. But it feels so good because I could get defensive and which I would if it were anyone else. But because it's them and because I'm constantly thinking of whatever is necessary for them to get a life lesson out of it, I accept it so well. So we know that we hear some of the same criticisms by somebody, but we allow them to do it.
Right.
But then if somebody does it that we either detest or we've already taken away their privilege to comment on us, then no matter what they say or how they say it, it's disgusting. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
Those are fighting words. because the proof is in all this mommy and daddy fighting, right? Let's think about our real moms and dads and the things that they have said, or our real brothers and sisters and the things that they have said. Yet we still minded them. We still love them. We still, eventually listened to them, or at least listened enough to not get caught again, which means we didn't really listen. We just learned how to do it better. Instead of like overtly just not. And then so our real moms and dads sometimes are accidentally getting to a point where they allow these behaviors as well. But you wouldn't allow them in your own house. You wouldn't allow some of our behaviors that we do in the outside world or to other people or to coworkers or to friends or to neighbors. You wouldn't allow that done in your own home. Yet for some reason, we're finding it acceptable to do out there. So I think kids are really not being raised in a consistent environment. And if we've learned anything by being parents, you're a parent, I'm a parent. Hopefully very soon I'll be a grandparent. Not that Dahlia's pregnant or anything like that. And definitely Zoe's not pregnant. Okay. But in a year now, right? What I'm saying is that we know that consistency is what helped with our children. Not the one-time life lesson, not the one-time thing, but the things that seem to have really stuck in their heads and the things that they really go by are the consistent messages that we gave them. So if we would ask them, what would dad say in this situation? What would mom say? Because of the consistency that they've monitored, they are really good at being able to say, very closely to what you would say.
Probably,
or what you think. That proves that consistency matters. So if we consistently give inconsistent messages, then how are they supposed to learn? You know what they're going to learn, which one they're going to pick? They're going to which one makes them feel better. They're going to go by which one allows them the most leniency, the least accountability. Because even though as adults we know accountability matters and accountability has helped shape us, when you're a child, when you're younger, you want zero accountability. There's no way you want it. And that's that whole psychological thing. Remember teachers used to say, oh, you're negative attention seeking. And I used to look at them and go like, what does that mean? Because as a young person, I had no idea what that really meant.
Right.
Because they acted like I wanted their attention. I'm like, no, I did not want your attention. I actually wanted you to leave me the hell alone. And they tried to explain a psychological profile to a child. They tried to explain something that they themselves learned in some Psych 101 class that they have no idea how to explain it. But they knew how to identify it and regurgitate it out of their stupid mouths. And what I'm saying is we constantly do that. We're giving psychobabble to young kids and not understanding what we're saying. But what is the end result? And we don't know. We have no longitudinal study on lack of accountability. We have no longitudinal study on lack of discipline. And so were we doing things rough, aggressive, maybe out of what we think should be the case? Yes. But should we always swing the pendulum the complete opposite direction and think that that's the correct way to do things? And that's a hard no. And I think we all agree with that.
Right.
Just we tend to now, I'm not going to say nowadays, it's always been that way. We always just tend to agree with what sounds like what we want. That's normal. That's normal human behavior.
Sure. Well, you also, I think you nailed it on the head as well, right at the top of the show when you said the other thing that the people might hear, because I'm just looking back. So there's two things going on here, right? There's the defensiveness that we get in the national level and on the outside world.
Okay. And
then there's the defensiveness that you get in your home or maybe in your workplace.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think that for the home and in the workplace, I think you nailed it on the head earlier in the sense that while, yes, there's potentially unhealed traumas and things of that nature that people are responding to, their button is kind of big and you accidentally hit it. I think you were correct in the sense that what we do here oftentimes is, hey, I've never mistreated you or I've never done anything wrong, but you did.
Right.
Right. Because that's where the whole, like, this blame game starts to happen is you feel like when somebody, I don't want to use the word calls out because it feels aggressive, but like when somebody takes exception to something you said or did, instead of hearing, hey, like, this is my teammate, or this is my friend, this is somebody who I've welcomed into my life for a reason. Like I have some sort of respect or love for this person. Let me hear them out. Like let me try to figure out. Let me understand where they're coming from, whether I agree or not. Like let me see where they're coming from. Instead of doing that, like you said, I think what people oftentimes hear is, "I'm awesome, you're not, and this is why." And it's sad that we hear that,
right?
Because I don't think that's what's intended. Oftentimes, if not, I'm not going to say never, because I'm sure there's somebody out there that does. I'm going to say the vast majority of the time, and that's where you always hear these therapists talk about, or even on these like relationship shows, and even older people who've been married for a long time, they always say the word communication. That's what they mean, right? That's what they mean is effectively communicating to somebody how you're feeling, but then also allowing them to effectively communicate to you, hearing the message. In other words, turning off that little kid inside of you that's getting ready to just explode on this person who thinks that they're so much better than you. They never do anything wrong, and how dare they talk to you? Like turning that little thing off, right? And I agree with you, man. I really do think that that's the crux of the interpersonal ones. Maybe not so much out in the world, maybe not so much nationally. I think nationally has more to do with accountability.
Right.
Whereas in the home, in the workplace, amongst friends, I think that and the closer they are to you, the less leeway they get.
Right.
Right. Like I probably give you more leeway than I give my wife. Only because, my wife says something, it's like, whoa, hey. Well, because same thing. I have a memory bank, of some things that maybe I looked over, or some things I didn't address with her, or little things that I'm like, whatever. And then when she brings up something I might have done or said or whatever, my inclination that I fight against, but my initial inclination is to hold up. I remember when you did, like just yesterday, you did such and such. So let's, and I think we're all guilty of that, right? And I do my best to not do that, but I'm guilty like the rest of us. But I do think that that's kind of where it stems from, right? Is this weird notion that no matter what they say, what they meant was, I'm better than you. You suck.
Right.
This is why.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what it feels like, Trinity? It feels like, it's like we're walking around with a game, and the game is find the hypocrisy. And so whoever you talk to, in whatever situation you're in, your only job is to find the hypocrisy in their statement. Yeah. Right? It's like you get in a conversation to find out how they're somehow being hypocritical. At least with, at least that's the way it seems. There's a lot of people, that's why they're in a conversation. You know what we need to do is start promoting some of the books that I think really help people. Not that I ever read it, but I do know that it used to be promoted a lot, is How to Win Friends and Influence People. There was a reason that book is where it is in our American system, right? Because and when I say American system, it's only because I never went to school in England, right? And when I did go to school in Germany, it was an American school, so that doesn't count. But the How to Win Friends and Influence People was intended for salespeople. Right. However, anytime I hear someone reference that book, like what they learned from it, it seems like a regular lesson that everybody should know, right? And one of the key factors in that is you want people to walk away from a conversation feeling good about themselves. And the best way to have people walk away from a conversation feeling good about themselves, apparently it must be in the book, because I keep hearing it talked about, is that, see, I'm admitting I didn't read it, is that you allow them to talk about themselves rather than you just only talking about you. If you go into a conversation, all you do is blah, 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 blah about yours, and you leave and you know nothing about them, know nothing about what they've gone through, then they were effective in making you feel good about that interaction. Right. But do they feel good about the interaction? Because they may have gone away and just like, all they did was, I heard you, blah, 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 and then whatever. And the reason you feel good is because they actually listened to you and didn't interrupt you. That was it. Right. So you think they agree with you, you think they like you, you think all that stuff. They effectively convinced you that you were liked. When realistically, they were probably sitting there silent going, I wish this person would just shut the hell up.
Why are they calling me?
I don't care. I said good. I said, how are you doing? I really did not mean that. I said, hope you're having a great day. That doesn't mean I wanted to hear about your day. Right. That's probably what they're thinking. Probably. But because they're polite, but because they probably read the book. They're just
Maybe.
letting you go on and on. But I think things like that. I think that how do we get back to some of those lessons, Trinity? Like in when I say how do we get back, again, I always like to preface it that remember Elvis was a dirty, nasty man before he was a saint, right? Jazz was dirty, evil music before it was like, the etiquette world, like it was high class. So depending on what generation you're in, you're always going to look at the youngsters and say, get off my lawn. That's part of the deal. So this is our turn to do that. Yeah, this is our turn to do that. I'm not going to give up on my turn just because I'm aware of it. I'm still going to say, get the hell off my lawn. You know why? Because we should have got off the damn lawn. Right. You know what I mean? So I'm saying it. But can we at least teach the younger people out there that we understand why they're saying what they're saying? We understand what they're doing. But please understand that you are an evolution in progress, not us. We're not going to evolve enough in our short amount of time left on Earth to make a difference in your life. But you, however, can evolve a tremendous amount in your lifespan to help the generations behind you. And so take that as a responsibility, not as you're the first generation ever to think these things, or you're the only generation to ever have thought of these things, or you're the only generation to save this world, this planet, these people, because everyone before you is a complete idiot. That is, if you think that way, you are the problem.
Right.
If you think that way, you, my friend, are the problem. That means you're coming into it concrete and not water. Concrete is immobile. Concrete doesn't learn. Concrete doesn't listen. Water flows. Water adapts. Water figures it out. So be water.
I couldn't agree more. I had a quote here that I kept years ago, actually, that I thought was pretty good. And I'm going to read it now because it totally fits with what we're talking about.
Okay.
It says, and don't ask me who said it. I don't remember. In a controversy, the instant we feel anger, we have already ceased striving for the truth and have begun striving for ourselves. That one spoke to me years ago when I first wrote it, or when I first copied it down. Because at face value, I was like, well, like but when I really thought about it, I was like, yeah, you're kind of right? Like, if you hear something, if you start getting angry, you're no longer trying to get to the truth anymore.
Right.
You're defending your stance. You feel some sort of fear that you're either not going to get what you want or you're losing what you have, right? Like respect, love, whatever it might be. And now you're responding out of that. And that's where the anger comes from, right? Because we all, for those of you who don't know, anger is a symptom, right? Some people cry, some people get angry, but it stems from, hey, that hurt. Right? Like, that didn't feel the way I wanted it to feel, so now I'm going to respond. And like I said, some people cry, some people get angry, some people, whatever. But
it's a response to another feeling.
Yeah, and so as you start getting angry, like you're no longer trying to get to the bottom of things. All you're trying to do is just stop that icky feeling, right? Like whatever I don't like that. It doesn't feel good, so now I'm going to stop it. And so I think that this whole concept of listen more than you speak is extremely valuable, right? And as I've gotten older, I've appreciated that more. Maybe because I've gotten wiser as I've gotten older, I've gotten less concerned with the viewpoints of others as far as judging me and how I'm presenting to the world, kind of a thing. As I've gotten older, I've cared less, and that's enabled me then to see the benefits of when somebody's saying something for me, be like, okay, like. Sure. Okay. Right. Because two things can be true is such a wonderful mindset when it comes to this. Like you said about hypocrisy, so if I'm saying something and somebody wants to point out something about myself that coincides with that, there was a time in my life where I would have defended my stance and given all the context and reasons why they're wrong and why they're the ones. Instead, now I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. But that doesn't change what I'm saying to you. Like two things can be true. I could absolutely be full of hypocrisy at the moment. And I could have absolutely trampled all over your feelings yesterday or today, or I could have, inappropriately done this or whatever it might be. You're right. I'm not saying I did or didn't. I don't know. But that doesn't change the fact that I'm telling you right now, this is how I feel.
Amen.
Like, this is what happened. And so I think that on both ends of that spectrum, we have to kind of keep in mind that one doesn't negate the other.
Right.
So if you're getting defensive, you have to understand that nothing you're getting ready to say is going to take away your behavior. If anything, it's going to make it worse.
Right.
This person, remember why they're there, right? Now, if you're standing in line at 7-Eleven and some random person, who cares, right? Like, I don't need to hear your opinion of my life. But if this is a friend, if this is a relative, if this is a spouse, if this is a child, if this is something that's important in your life, that you're choosing daily to keep that person in your life, right? Because you don't have to, like, unless they live with you, you could pretty much, they don't have to be in your life every day. So you're choosing daily. And even if you're married, you're choosing that person every day. And so try to remember why you chose that person, right? Like, this is not coming from, and you know what? I think you and I do it really well, to be honest with you, with each other. I'm not going to say with our spouses because I don't really know. I'm not in your house, but I think we do it really well with each other. And, and a lot of the men that I've gotten along with in my life are capable of the same. And I used to say back in the day when I met one of my buddies, we had this kind of conversation back then, was there was never a competition. Like, oftentimes, especially with men, you get into this whole alpha male type thing, right? Like, somebody's got to be the biggest one in the room, which therefore means everybody else must be below you.
Right.
And I don't get along with those people, right? The people I do get along with are the other men in the room that are confident enough to say, you can be great, but that doesn't mean I'm small.
Right.
We can both be great. There's enough room in this room for all of us to be great and in the same room. Game recognizes the game. Real recognizes real. Like, hey, man, you're in your lane, dude. That's awesome. Like, I'm not hanging out with people who I don't think are great. So if I'm friends with you, that means I think there's something great about you, and that doesn't infringe on my ability. If anything, I'm trying to learn from it, right? Like, let's share notes here. And so I think, so those are the individuals I get along with. And so I know you and I, because we've had many debates over the years, some on air, some off air, some with stupid things like, who the GOAT is for football, or, more involved things. And oftentimes we disagree, right? But at the end of the day, we come from a place of respect. And there's been times where we've hurt each other's feelings, and it usually doesn't last long. We're dudes, thankfully. So I think within a couple minutes, it's usually, whatever, who cares? But the point is, I think we both come from a place of respecting the other person's stance.
Right.
Even I agree or disagree. And so I think that is the lesson here for everybody, is when you're interacting with somebody, try to keep in mind who that person is to you. Like, not the words that you're feeling at them, or the feelings that you're feeling from the words, because that's not them. That's you. That's how you've taken in what they've just said. And if you feel like it's starting to kind of rub you the wrong way, this is where mindfulness comes into play, right? With spirituality, is the feeling tone. We don't do that enough until too late, right? How many times have people caught themselves, totally fine, minding your business, you get involved in a conversation with somebody, and you have no idea how it ended up in an argument.
Right.
You're like arguing and fighting. You're like, I don't even know how I got here. It's like 10 minutes ago, I was just fine. Right. Well, it's because you were not mindful of the feeling tone as it's happening, right? Like, there's a moment when somebody says or does something that your brain looks at that and says, I like that, I don't like that, or I don't care. And the problem is we don't pay any attention until after we've already made that decision and we're already responding to it. That's when we start to say, oh, I guess I didn't like that. Well, it's too late now because you've already completely lashed out. And so part of mindfulness in the spiritual sense is acknowledging, and this is the thing that I know I've gotten really good at over the years. You've been good since I've known you for the most part, and that's also, I think, a lot of that has to do with the rehab, 12 steps, that kind of stuff. Because from what I've seen you do a lot of that in recovery. So this concept of, hey, that stung, like when I was younger, I wasn't great at it, but as I've gotten older with kids and whatnot, I can literally pinpoint it now. If somebody says something to me, I know immediately I didn't like that, and this is why. Regardless if it's justified or valid, regardless if that's what you intend, it doesn't matter. I'm aware of how I interpreted that. And so it's up to me at that point to decide if it's valid or not. Meaning, if I don't know, if you were to say something to me, like we're designing something and you were to like not like it for some reason, I'm completely making stuff up right now, so bear with me. If you didn't like something and wanted me to change it, what I could hear is, hey, I don't respect your time. Hey, you're not good at this. You don't have value or whatever. I can hear that. And then my gut instinct is to respond with, what are you talking about? But that little voice inside me says, oh, I see what's happening here. No, I'm not going to choose that. He's not coming from that place. So that's an example of what I mean. We can do daily is first of all, pay attention to the message.
Yeah.
But most importantly, you got to be aware of that feeling tone. And I think so many of us aren't. We're not aware of that moment that we've decided intellectually, I like it, I don't like it, or I don't care.
That is so right, Trinity. We're often out of the moment, unfortunately. You know, we're holding on to a moment that maybe already stung us in the past, and we walk around in that. Like, I think I was joking with you the other day, is like when I was on a plane or when I was traveling, I was saying I'm very different when I'm all by myself traveling.
Right.
For the most part. For the most part, I'm very unapproachable when I'm traveling. I kind of stay to myself. Don't really talk a lot, especially if I'm tired. And I'm just kind of like, so I probably look like a jerk to a lot of people. You know what I mean? I have this resting bitch face.
I don't know how that feels at all.
You know, well, as a bigger person, you have more of a responsibility to not have a resting bitch face because, you know, you're
I
scary.
failed that responsibility.
Yeah, you're scary looking. You know what I mean? I'm not scary looking. I just, not just like my son-in-law says, like an intimidating kind of look. Like it just look like I'm looking for a problem or whatever, maybe. And so I have to acknowledge that. I have to know that I do that. So I have to soften it. Like when it comes out of my mouth, I soften my voice a lot when I'm dealing with you know, servers, you know, flight attendants, and I have to soften my tone because I know I'm not looking like a nice person. You know how like when there's certain actors that we've always seen get typecast at a certain way because they just look like a jerk.
Right.
I have a feeling I look like that. I have a, you know what I mean? You know, I don't look like the lead character. I always look like the jerk. So, but you have to acknowledge that and be okay with it and just understand, okay, and it's not their fault. It's you know, it just is what it is.
Right.
You just got to be aware, like you said, be mindful of it. The other thing is that I think that, God, man, I don't want to sound like the Bloods here, but I think that TikTok has painted some things. I think that everybody looks at things like TikTok filters. In like we tend to view a lot of people like through the TikTok filter rather than a regular filter. In other words, like if everybody that looks a certain way, like you automatically put a devil, you know, filter on it, so we're all walking around like devils, then that's all you're gonna see. You're not gonna see the real me. You're gonna see the filter that you placed upon me. Right. You know, and for you, for instance, you know, if I look at you and I just see the Klan hat, you know, and that's not who you are, you know. But if I put the Klan filter on every white person in America, then I'm going to treat you all like a Klansman.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just what's going to come out of me. And I think that's where the life lessons have to stop. We have to stop putting filters, our shit, you know, because it's based on our insecurities, our pain, our incorrect thinking by our parents who just, they were unhealthy. Because a lot of you younger people, you have very unhealthy parents. You know, I know they loved you. I know they intended the right, but they have such bitterness and hate that they're applying it to you right now. And so you're learning a lesson that they couldn't resolve. They didn't know how to resolve it. So what they're teaching you is to continue hate or continue a problem, continue a pain. And in our job as future generations is always trying to deal with stuff that our parents were unable to deal with. And their parents got it. I mean, they got it from their parents who they were unable to deal with. And their parents got it from their parents who were unable to deal with it for whatever reason. For whatever reason, some pains have gone on for generations. But our job is always that I have my own pain. I don't need yours. I have my own problems. I don't need yours. I have my own path. I appreciate you highlighting yours. So that is always an option. I can always walk down the path that my parents created for me, or I can choose a different path. So having it as an option or having it as a mandate is two different things. And so I encourage everyone to accept and appreciate the options available to you and to understand that the one that you may choose may just be a little bit more difficult, or it might be a bill of goods. It may be fake. It might be phony. It might not be real. There is always a highlighted path, and it's always easier to at least walk down the path that someone else forged before you and then maybe add something to it rather than try to completely reinvent it. And I think that's where we get to in arguments. I think that's where we get to in communication. I think that's where we get to in relationships. You have your loved ones trying to give you feedback on a situation, or people that are well-intended to give you feedback, and you tend to listen to the one that sounds more like what you really want to hear. You know, for you females, your girlfriends, for you guys, your guy friends who are in the opposite situation. For instance, if you're a married man and you're listening to your single male friends about feedback,
that's a bad
or
idea.
your divorced friends, good luck.
Yeah,
If you're a female and you're listening to your female friend who is 3 times divorced, or good luck with that. You know what I mean? Married helps married, single helps single. That is also a truth, people. So I, for once, I get asked, because I'm a counselor in life, a lot of people will try to ask for advice, and I'll say, I'm not in your situation, so I can give you what sounds like textbook kind of response. And I can also give you my friend feeling, but I'm not going to use both with you because you're in your situation, and it's a baited question. I'm too much your friend here in this situation. So I'm just going to give you some textbook stuff, and I'll give you my friend thing, but you have to live with your end result, not me. And text responses don't always apply, and the friend responses don't always apply. Yeah. And I think you can attest to that, right? When we've had deeper conversations about our personal lives, I can give some responses, but at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure I always come out at the end and says, yeah, but you got to live with it.
Yeah.
So that's the end result. You have to live with it. So that's the most important response. You know what I mean? That's the most important lesson in all friend conversations. Sure. For you to know as a friend that your friend has to live with it, not you.
Yeah, I think that so everything you just said, I think really very nicely applies to giving defensiveness, right? Like when you're hearing something in, then turning around and lashing out. So I'm going to try to address what worked for me anyways on the other side of that. Okay. When you're trying to give out not necessarily criticism, but just whatever it is that you're giving out, and you're receiving defensiveness in return. Okay. Right. Okay. So for me, what worked best for me was like a subtle, like a, I don't know, like a slide, a pivot a little bit from what worked for you. Because I tried really hard to do what worked for you, and it just didn't. It never worked. I tried so hard. Because for me, what I'm getting at is whenever I would say something to somebody, and I'm coming from a seemingly innocuous position,
right?
I have no malice whatsoever. I'm legitimately just coming from an analytical perspective. I see a flaw. I'm trying to say something.
Right.
And if I get nastiness in return, my go-to is I'm going to shut that down. My go-to is, no, you didn't just come at me with some attitude after I was trying to be cool. Like, we're giving out attitude. Oh, cool. Let me know. I'll give some back then. You know, I used to always say I'm a mirror, right? I'm gonna give you back what you're giving me.
Right.
And so, and the problem is I would escalate. So if somebody gave me a little bit of attitude, I'm giving you a bunch right back. And so what was hard for me to learn how to do was to not negatively respond to the defensiveness that I'm receiving and turn around and make it worse. And I know you said back in the day what worked for you was talking to somebody, and it wasn't with random everyday people. It was like within your own home, I guess. And that was, but you also said it too. You did it in counseling sessions as well. And that was think in your head, I'm coming from love, right? Like I love this person. Problem is that when I would think of that, I would be like, no, I don't. Not right now. Like I want to kill this person. I hate this person. Which obviously I didn't, but in that moment, you know, I'm consumed with anger or rage or frustration or whatever it might be. So it just didn't work, you know, like I would try to be like, I don't give a shit. I would do it anyways. What worked for me though is coming from an analytical perspective and seeing what that person's actually doing, right? And I don't know if not everybody is going to be able to do that. It won't work for everybody. Some people might not even know some of those things, right? I'm blessed with the fact that I'm surrounded by a lot of people, so I picked up things. I've read copious amounts of stuff. I'm also in spirituality, so I kind of can usually pretty well see what's actually happened, whether I want to see it or not, or I want to admit it or not. And so, as an example, with my son, my son will say or do something, mean or whatever to his sister, or even, to somebody else in the household. Instead of me reacting to that, I see a hurt little boy. Like I can literally see his hurt feelings spewing out of his mouth right now. You know what I mean? Like, and I'll even tell him, like, "Hey, buddy, like I get it. It hurt your feelings. It didn't hurt my feelings. It did. Like, I watched it happen." But so instead of me reacting to what he's saying to me, I'm trying to react to what I know the truth to be. And that is, he just got his feelings hurt. He's emotional right now.
Yeah.
And so the best example that worked for me years ago was with my wife, even, right? My wife has been through trauma in her life. She's had things like most people have. But my wife can be an alley cat at times. Like people see my wife and she's like this lovely thing. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, there's other times that I've seen that she's not so nice. And so, and I would get offended by it and I'd want to respond. So sometimes it would escalate. It didn't need to. So now it has been working for years now. I know that if I say something to her, if it's a difficult moment or if it's a stressful moment or whatever it may be, if it's just one of those moments where it has the opportunity to go sideways, I tell myself she's coming from a survival perspective, right? Meaning her first instinct to survive. So if she's got to lash out, she's going to lash out. If she's going to hurt, she's going to hurt. She's going to do whatever it is, and that her instantaneous reaction to things is going to be that of survival. And so, much like an alley cat, if you're trying to give food to the alley cat, you have to understand that cat could very well try to bite you,
right?
When you're just giving it food, and if the cat does try to bite you, you're not going to try to kill it because you should know ahead of time. It's an alley cat. What do you expect? The story of the snake and the frog, right? When the snake, the frog gets on the snake's back to take him across the river, and at the end he bites him. He's like, "Why'd you bite me?" Because I'm a snake. That's what we do. So like her responding from a place of survival has nothing to do with me. That's just how she's hardwired right now. So what helped me is to see it from her perspective and saying, "Hey, I'm not going to take it personal right now. What's about to come out of her mouth or the tone or whatever it is. I'm not going to allow that to infringe on my own insecurities, right? I'm going to let her be who she is and just understand that it's coming from a place of survival." Right. Much in the same way, like when I said, my son, if he'll do something, he'll say something. I don't light him up when I see him do something, maybe mean to his sister right away, because I know what happened. I saw her hurt his feelings and I saw him lash. So instead, I try to get him in touch and say, "Look, buddy, that hurt your feelings, right? It didn't make you feel good about yourself when she did that. That's why you did this. I get it, but it's just not okay to act that out." Right. And so when it comes to receiving stuff from other people, what worked for me was seeing them for the behaviors that I know they are. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So for you, it was just, "Hey, I love them. I'm going to say something. I love them," which is awesome.
Right.
So I think whoever's listening to this, he already addressed, basically working on your stuff and choosing a better option when it comes to responding to people. And what I'm saying now is when you're talking to people and they're giving it to you, understand where they're coming from. You don't have to agree with them. And I'm not saying that's the other thing too, is two things can be true. My wife can absolutely be coming from a place of survival. It can also be terrible, right? Like it's never the right answer to be defensive or to lash out or react to somebody, right? It's never a right answer, but I'm not dismissing that when I acknowledge where she's coming from. I'm giving her grace. I'm giving her the opportunity to be human right now. And you know what? You're not always going to choose the right thing. And I get that. It sucks. I'm not cool with it, but I'm strong enough mentally or emotionally to say, all right, like I see what that is. I don't want nothing to do with it.
Right.
And so by accepting somebody, it does not necessarily mean you're signing off on the behavior, I guess is what I'm getting at. It's de-escalating the situation. It's giving them a moment to be unskillful.
I think what we just witnessed was the exact same thing being said two different ways, or at least,
Yeah.
well, one,
Yeah.
in other words, the reason you do that is because you love her. Because if a person comes into your home to steal it or to hurt you, I don't think you're going to go like, it's because you don't have a dad. And I get it. You're lashing out. You're angry with the world.
Wrong house, brother. This ain't what you want, man.
So in other words, because you don't love that person, but if you love that life, you're going to try to stop that without killing the life.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because you don't know them, and you really don't care what background they have at that moment. So we're actually saying the exact same thing.
No, absolutely.
So I'm going to expand a little bit on that, because
just the semantics part for me.
Right. And when I mean by that, when I say love them, is because my analysis ability is very questionable when my emotions are attached.
Sure.
So I may be good at analyzing a situation that I'm not emotionally attached to, but I can't trust my analysis when I am emotionally attached. Sure. Because at that moment I can care less why. I don't care what your background is. I don't care who hurt you. I don't care what your last guy did. I don't care I don't care if you had a bad day at work. I don't give a damn. Right now I'm just pissed that you're even throwing any of that defensiveness onto me. So the reason we had that discussion back in the day was because I did not know love. I only knew hate.
Right.
And I really thought it was the answer to everything. The more I hate, then I don't have to be attached. I don't have to have guilt. I don't have to have fear. I don't have to wait for how you feel about me, because I've already dictated all the relationships moving forward. And therefore I felt that protected my heart and that protected me from hurting. However, when I think love is hard to not be soft. So I learned how to soften my tone, my look, my voice, my care, if I just say I love you in my head. And so it was a trick that I used to be able to help clients that I really, initially I didn't even care about people, and I was a counselor already, and I really didn't care about my clients. I'm like, all right, who gives a shit? You know? And that was hard, because I was like, all right, bro, you better, if you're going to do this job, you got to learn how to feel for it. Because I wanted to love them, and then I realized things about them, and I'm like, okay, now I don't love you no more. You know? So I needed to kind of move that forward, and luckily I got not only really good at it, but I believe it, to the point it's part of my wiring, right? So now when I say I love you, it's because I'm allowing you that leniency because of what you've come through, but I can't get into the details. So like, let's take it with spouses, where you took it, where with close people within your household. You're going to be in a position in your household where your emotions are being triggered. And while your emotions are being triggered and your other partner is being defensive, they're no longer listening to your message. So here's what does not work. No matter what technique you use, whether you use a technique that sounds more like what I just explained or a technique what Trinity's saying, it doesn't matter what technique you eventually use. Here's what does not work. Getting louder. Yeah. And I still do it. I still do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't help it. I can't help it.
I'm a passionate person.
I've learned, and I've done many times where I get softer, but I'm not Clint Eastwood. So as much as I want to be Clint Eastwood and just give you a look and just talk real soft, I don't carry the whole package that Clint Eastwood has. So I have to turn into Joe Pesci, because that's more the package that I've been gifted. You know what I mean? I want to be Clint Eastwood, because I look up to Clint Eastwood, but I turn into freaking Joe Pesci, and I don't want to be. You know what I mean? Not all the time. Sometimes I can stay Clint.
Sure.
Other times when it's not working, I'm Joe Pesci. All right. So I say that because what doesn't work is us getting louder. What doesn't work is us calling the person names. What doesn't work is being smirky and laughing. See, you may be laughing on the inside about some of the things they're saying, but if you laugh like a jerk on the outside, you're wanting them to see it, and then you deny it. When you get I've seen some of you do it, like, what? I just said this, but you're giving them that sarcastic look. You're giving them that. You're letting them know
Sure.
You're full of shit, but I'm not going to say it, so you have nothing on me.
I might have seen that a few times in my house.
Yeah. So the point is what can work for you though in that respect is to know, all right, I triggered something. What did I trigger? And I actually like that part of the technique the best for me in my household.
Right.
For me is if I right away say something and I hear psh, like coming out of nowhere, I'm like, all right, what did I do? What's going on? Because and if I hear nothing, what do you say? Like, all right, I'm just saying because I felt like something. If I'm reading too much into it, let me know. But I felt a little something, and so before I proceed, I just need to kind of know what I'm gonna step into. And if I do it in the same jovial sense that my partner knows or my family knows, that's fun Louie, that's happy Louie, then we're gravy. But if I do it in a sense that's sarcastic Louie, that's Louie on the defensive, it's not going to go well.
Right.
So that's the key factor. The key factor is you know damn well what you're doing. Stop doing it. You know damn well what they're doing. You better shut up. There is nothing. When someone's being defensive with you, you can't do anything but love them through it regardless. You can't do anything but accept where they're coming from regardless. Like Trinity's saying, you know their pains. You know where they're coming from. You know enough about the people and all that stuff. You just may not care right now. So love yourself enough to not put yourself in a situation to get hurt. And you will be hurt. You keep going. You keep going. That snake gonna bite. And you might think you're the strongest snake. Some of us always think that we're the strongest snake. And my wife likes to act like I'm the strongest snake. Like she'll be like, "Oh, you get brutal." I'm thinking it's only because I'm not letting you know that shit hurt. The reason I bit you hard that way is because you already hurt me hard. I'm just not gonna let you know it. So I'm gonna hurt.
Right.
So, love yourself enough to give yourself another day of life, because there's a whole channel dedicated where some of you just went too far and you don't wake up the next day. You know, like for instance, right now, Trinity, I know it's kind of funny. So in our house, I make the coffee every morning. I go because I wake up early. That's all.
Sure.
But Dana prepares something in that coffee sometimes, right? So back in the day, I knew that she was using some sort of probiotic or something like that. And I'd be like, Dana, I don't know what that coffee is, but that's not settling in my stomach right. And then she admitted, oh, I put something in it. Right. And it's like, damn it, Dana, don't put stuff in my coffee. So I have to address, this is a conversation that we're going to have today, by the way. We're going to have it today.
Oh boy.
Yeah. No, it better go good.
Well, you never know.
For my sake. So I've been noticing that the last whole jug of coffee and this new jug of after I came out, there's like this white powder residue in the coffee, and I don't want to say numbing because then it sounds like cocaine, but like a weird, like
stevia or something.
I don't know what it is. No, she wouldn't do that. No, but there's something, and it's like, what is she putting in the coffee? You know, she is doing something very secretly in this coffee. So here's an example of I can approach it with humor, which is my style, and she'll accept it 100%. Or I can approach it like, dang it, you always do something. You're sneaky. You try to put shit in my food. You put shit in my drink. You're always trying to give me some sort of, in her, it's a vitamin. It's something good for me, whatever. But she doesn't know that shit affects me, man. You know what I mean? I don't like it. You know what I mean? But she's loving me, Trinity. Sure. I know she's loving me. She's just trying to get me to live longer. She's just trying to make sure that I am a healthy person, but she doesn't in these sneaky little ways, man.
You just inadvertently gave a fantastic tip, by the way. Okay. For anybody who's trying to have a conversation with anybody really, but especially somebody you're emotionally bonded with, like a spouse, if you want to immediately send it into defensiveness, use the words always or never.
Yeah.
If you want to immediately put it in defensiveness, doesn't matter what your message is, doesn't matter what comes afterwards, but if you started it out by saying you always or you never, I promise you, it's going to end in defensiveness.
Yeah, use the word today. Throw the word today in there, and it makes you talk different.
Yeah. So it was funny. You just inadvertently gave it to him because you said something about it. You always do that. So that's an example of like if you're trying to be skillful and you don't want this situation to turn into a defensive situation.
Right. Yeah.
Now, mind you can't control their behavior, and you don't know what
Yeah.
kind of day they're having. You might accidentally trigger something, like you said. But there are certain like go-tos. They always and the never are just a bad idea. It really is, because nobody always does anything or never does anything. Like it just might not be as frequent as you would like or infrequent, but nobody always or never does. So anyways,
well, let's just hope this isn't evidence. This stays Dharma Time defensiveness episode,
yeah,
and not I'd like to submit this as evidence. See, what he was talking about here was exactly how she ended up poisoning him, and that's why Mr. Delgado is no longer with us on this day. Exactly. So let's just hope. This ends okay, Trinity.
We'll see. I'll keep my phone by me. All right. So you got any
episode saved,
right?
Look.
Yeah. You got any wrap up you want to do today?
Talking about defensiveness, let's look, we all get defensive. That's just part of the deal. If you're a person that says, I'm just being honest, I'm just being real, you may just be a jerk. You may just be defensive at the moment. And we're all jerks sometimes. We're all mean sometimes. That's part of the deal. Whatever you think the world is, you are too. Whatever bothers you about the world, you are too. If you don't like hypocrisy out there, you are too. If you don't like mean people out there, you are too. Even Angel, even Dana, they're very mean people sometimes. They're very evil people sometimes. Now, your loved ones go like, oh, never, Angel, never, Dana. Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So let's just work harder on ourselves, a lot more on ourselves, a lot more on educating children than trying to change the world out there. The only way to change the world out there is you lead by example, because I don't care who you are. Eventually, you get on that pedestal high enough and somebody's going to call you on your shit. Somebody's going to find something on you. And unfortunately, it unfortunately always tears apart for somebody the lesson that you could have gave out. And I got one more request since we're here on Black History Month. I got this is a call to all Black leadership out there in the future, because every city I go to, every town I go to, there is a Martin Luther King Boulevard. Every city. You need to ensure that this man did a lot of great things, man. There's a lot of great stuff, and I think we're losing the messages of what Martin Luther King did and what he said and all that stuff. And we're giving way too much credence to new Black leadership that aren't as loving and peaceful. But let's stop putting Martin Luther King Boulevards in the worst of neighborhoods. Let's stop making it a place that becomes a joke for people to say, like, if you want to buy crack, just find a Martin Luther King Boulevard. Let's start putting. I want to see like a gated community built, and it has a Martin Luther King Boulevard or Martin Luther King Street. We are perpetuating stupidity when we continue to put certain roads in certain places. That I think that's where we need to go to. Stop. Let's not knock down a monument, but instead let's put a Martin Luther King Boulevard in the next golf community that we create. That would be nice. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, and that just hit me because I was sitting, at the airport after again going to another town and being like, why do we always do that?
Yeah.
And why are we okay with that? And I don't. And it's not white racist government putting Martin Luther King. No, it's the Black leadership saying should now be called Martin Luther King Boulevard because this is where we live. Yeah, but where you live is not where it needs to be Martin Luther King Boulevard. Where you live does not have to be that name. You know what has to be that name? Where they live. That road needs to be Martin Luther King Boulevard. Not where you live. Am I wrong, Trinity?
No, I mean, I to me, that's a widely known thing, man. If you want to know the worst part of town, usually just find a Milky Boulevard, and that's usually where it's at.
Yeah, because every golf communities always tend to have like a Ben Hogan Why? Because it's a golf community, so it's a golfer name,
Right.
right? So that's normal. That's normal. So, but we got to flip it. We got to do some flipping to make someone says, "Yo, man, who's Ben Hogan?" You know what I mean? We got to flip it. We got to go into black neighborhoods and rename them streets to like white leadership names, right? Then we got to go into white neighborhoods and rename them to black leadership names. We got to flip this to make you know who we are. You know what I mean? And none of you know Latinos because y'all think, I don't know, we're the most disrespected culture on planet. Me and the Asian guy keep sitting back there going like, what about us? You know what I mean? So and the Middle Eastern, I'll put you with us, man. Don't worry, you're sitting with us too. But the point is that we gotta just be a little bit more mindful of some of these things moving forward. Because it just, I think it's those little secret little subliminal things that we don't really understand what we're really doing when we do them. I don't know. And hey, happy Black History Month, everybody, and happy Valentine's Day to all you people that care about that. It's February while we're doing this. You might be listening to this, and this is like 2024, like March of 2024, or like December 2024. But we did
poisoned.
Yeah, and I'm already gone. But I'm here today. So those are my final words, man.
Yeah, right on. I don't know how to follow that, but I'll do my best.
It just hit me because it's so stereotypical. I mean, and everybody knows it's true. By the way, so don't send me no damn hate mail. You know damn well that you go down to Martin Luther King Boulevard, you're gonna find some nastiness on that damn road, and you can't blame anybody for that nastiness other than you chose to name it that.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks everybody for tuning in. Appreciate you. Feel free to like, share, comment, all those fun things that make the world go around for us. As always, you can check us out live on any of our shows on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch under Dope and Dharma. You can follow him at the Dope Doctor. You can follow me at the Dharma Guy. And then we are on at Dope and Dharma. Yeah, I mean, as far as defensiveness, I'll keep it short and sweet. Do yourself a favor and listen more, talk less. And when I say listen, try to listen to the message. Try to listen to what's actually there. Stop hearing that one word or that one phrase and then not listening after that, right? Because we all have it. They'll say that one thing or that one word, and it's like, oh, I'm done listening. Now I'm formulating how I'm about to tell you why you're wrong and everything else. And you missed the entire message. So be aware of that. Really, really seriously try to be aware internally the moment that you deem something positive, negative, or neutral. The moment that you've, subconsciously decided I like it, I don't like it, I don't really care. Try to really pay attention to that. And then when you've paid attention to it enough and you're very well adept at recognizing that, start to pay attention to what comes afterwards. Start to realize, like, man, okay, I've decided I don't like that. Now I'm starting to want to like go after this person, whatever. Like, start working on those things, right? And so it's our job, as we always joke on the show. It's not other people's job to tiptoe around your buttons. It's your job to make your buttons smaller. And the way you make your buttons smaller is by healing. And part of that healing is confronting the past, listening to others, taking in messages. Like, that's all part of the process, guys. And in doing so, you'll make the world better for yourself and everybody else. There's so much less stress. When you're coming from a place of love and compassion for them and yourself, it really, truly does change the dynamic of your whole day. It really does. And your whole day can go south very quickly with just one moment of defensiveness, be it given or taking. So work on not giving it and work on not taking it. And you'll see some serious changes. So anyways, that's all I got today.
Nope. Before you do the sign off, remember tomorrow's show, we'll be doing We the Middle tomorrow.
Okay. Are we?
Probably around noonish. Yeah, I'm in town. I don't leave again until the 21st for sure. But we got a lot of things to talk about. We definitely got to talk about China. The weather. We didn't talk about the balloon.
No.
So we got to talk about China on.
There's a lot
on tomorrow's show. Yeah, we got to talk about the State of the Union address. What you thought about it. Definitely got to talk about the Super Bowl. Got to talk about NASCAR coming back. Anyway, follow us, and then you'll be able to know when we get on the air for that show.
Right on. And for those of you who have not listened to us before, he was referring to We the Middle. We have 3 main programming shows that we do. We have the Couch Live on Monday nights. Normally supposed to be Monday nights. And we talk about drug and alcohol related issues and family issues, things of that nature. Tuesdays is normally when this show's on, and we talk about things from a spiritual perspective. And then Fridays, we let our hair down just a little bit, and we talk about politics and some sports and things of that nature, more of a variety. So by all means, follow us and listen to whatever shows speak to you. And until then, now that you know better, do better. Peace.